something. I don't know. Maybe I thought if I brought it up here, I was going to get fired and whatever. Man, I don't know. I'm so young.
I can't get an answer to the door.
Police department.
Police are looking for a suspected killer after receiving a 911 call. They rummage through the house and find 2 little children. After entering another room, they find Jessica shot and struggling to survive. They called for medical help and discovered a gun underneath her body, and it's clearly a police gun. A .40 caliber Glock police issued firearm assigned to Jessica's husband, Matthew Boynton.
Get him downstairs. Get him downstairs.
Officer Boynton cries in anguish as she's being taken to the hospital. But the situation took a different turn when the investigation started.
4 people in 2 different apartments said they heard a gunshot 2 hours before Officer Boynton called in shots fired.
Well, they didn't report it.
The only individual reporting shots fired at 1 a.m. is the husband, Officer Boynton.
The relationship between Matthew Boynton and Jessica Lester was riddled with warning signs from the start. Abandoned as a child by her parents, Jessica felt grateful for Matthew's attention towards her, which he cunningly exploited when she became pregnant at 16. As they moved in together, he isolated her from her adopted family, using the excuse that they weren't blood-related. Pursuing his lifelong dream of becoming a police officer, Matthew's intense nature and inflexibility against Jessica became known. In a desperate bid for freedom, Jessica had an affair with him that resulted in her pregnancy. Surprisingly, Matthew agreed to raise the child as his own, and they hastily got married. However, less than 6 months into the marriage, Matthew began his own affair, displaying no concern for hiding it, and made it public. The relationship crumbled, and Jessica sought a divorce. Following a heated altercation at Walmart, the couple returned home, and shortly after, gunshots were heard by a neighbor who peeped through the window and saw Matthew hastily leaving the house. Subsequently, at Waffle House with a fellow cop, Matthew claimed he received a text, allegedly from Jessica, indicating suicidal thoughts. He contacted emergency services and rushed back home, leaving behind a trail of suspicion.
Can you please dispatch a unit out to my location? Come in reference to my wife. I left the location. I'm backing around on Carver Road now. I'll be back there in about 2 minutes. She's having suicidal thoughts. My kids are at home with her, so I'm trying to hurry up and get back there. I'm driving. She just said that she's been experiencing suicidal thoughts right now. She told me to take care of the boys, so I'm trying to hurry up and get back home just to make sure that nothing's going to happen to them. Any weapons inside the house? Just my service weapons.
He said that when he came back home, he found Jessica dead in the room, shot in the head. Despite the initial classification as a suicide attempt, Jessica miraculously survived.
They're saying I had to have done it like this, down, but yet the bullet goes through the ceiling and the roof and out the wall. Our closet was not the Matrix. It couldn't have happened like that.
However, the subsequent investigation was marred by cover-ups and inconsistencies, allowing Matthew to walk away without consequences while Jessica lost custody of her sons. The enigmatic case might have reached a dead end if Matthew hadn't entangled himself with another woman who stumbled upon a bag of Jessica's belongings, the very same items he had sworn to no longer possess in a sworn statement. The suspenseful tale unraveled, revealing hidden truths as he's being interrogated.
We're going to advise you that you have the right to remain silent. Do you understand that? Anything I say can be used against me in a court of law. Do you understand that? I have the right to talk to a lawyer and have him present with me while I'm being questioned. Do you understand that? If I cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed to represent me before any question if I wish. Do you understand that? I can decide at any time to exercise these rights and not answer any questions and make any statements. Do you understand that? It says, I understand my rights, and having these rights in mind, I'm now willing to talk about items that belong to Jessica. I've not been threatened. I've not been promised anything. I've not been forced in any way to answer any questions or make any statements. Okay? If you want to talk to us, just sign right there. All right. So Jessica came in, she filed a report. I talked to you about it. You wrote a statement saying you didn't have any of her items. The report specifically said her retainer and stuff like that and clothes. Do you know anything about where her clothes or retainer might have been?
Like I told her before, the only thing that we might have had would have been in that white trailer, and my stepdad has not mentioned anything else being in there.
When questioned about possessing her computer and other belongings, Boynton falsely denies ever having them. The police immediately know he's lying because a bag belonging to Jessica was obtained by Boynton's girlfriend and a private investigator. Interestingly, they haven't informed him about possessing the bag yet.
And we gave everything back that we had because she had put some stuff in like it's like a little foot chase thing. You open it up, it's got 2 little boxes. I think we used to use it for like diapers and stuff now, but everything that she had that I knew of was gone. I got rid of everything I knew of.
a house up?
Either give back to her or her family came back and got it. You know, like she had a big kitchen table and some other stuff that her Aunt Kathy and Uncle Tim come and got. Just different. I think my stepdad actually took a whole bunch of stuff over to her grandparents' house at 2464 East Milner in Pike, which is like right by my parents' house.
Okay. So when did you move to Lee May Road?
That would be sometime in March.
March. Through the course of that move, did you find anything that belonged to her at that point?
No, because if I would have, I would have turned it over to her, because I had no need to keep her stuff. The only thing I had at that point was that computer, and me and you had talked about that and gave it back to her, because she could let her talk to Bird.
Okay. So, you recognize that bag?
Yes, that bag that Jessica let me use to put all my gym stuff in when we used to be together.
The detective is patiently waiting for him to confess, but his words are not making any sense. As a result, they start asking him more serious questions.
So when's the last time you saw that bag?
It's been a long time. Like I said, when I used to work out at, there's two gyms in Thomaston. I don't remember the name of it. I used that one, and I had a gray Nike bag I used to work out in. So I interchanged my stuff like protein drinks, powder shakes like pre-workout, workout shorts, pants, shoes, whatever. I put it in that bag or my Nike bag.
So when's the last time that you saw that bag?
I mean, it's been a while. I don't know an exact date. I don't know. I think my stepdad, he had it in the white trailer, and that's been a while. And he brought it, but I haven't been through it or anything. He put it in my storage thing in my house, which is like when you pull in the driveway. It's a little storage thing on the right. You open the door and it's got all my stuff in there. I had to clean some of it out recently. That was tossed in there, but I mean, it's in there with a bunch of my stuff, like a brown tub I used to keep in my old patrol car with gym stuff in it and work stuff.
Would that be the utility room or carport room at your new house?
Yeah, that's where I keep I keep stuff in that. And I keep stuff in like what's considered the office in the back of my house. I just tossed it over the rest of my gym. It's just an old gym bag.
Boynton asserts that although the bag belongs to Jessica, he previously utilized it as a gym bag and hasn't seen it for quite some time. Unbeknownst to him, they already have the bag he's been concealing, and he is caught in a lie. He claims it might have been in his storage shed, unaware that his girlfriend will be able to disapprove of his statement. The chief got tired of his lies and decided to step in.
All right, Matthew. Look. Let's see the phone. Known you a long time.
Yes, sir.
This bag, you saw it moving when you moved from your apartment to the main road.
I didn't know.
And your stepdad and Wendell saw it, and another female saw it. All right.
Okay.
The house and the apartments. Yes or no? When you moved from the apartment.
When I moved, like I said, I had all my stuff in the white trailer.
Matthew, that's not what I'm asking. When y'all were in the process of moving, and you moved into the house that you're at now, your residence, did you not see this bag?
Yes, sir. It was in my storage room in the garage.
All right. Now, why would I be holding a picture of this bag?
I guess because Jessica brought it into you.
Why would Jessica have it if you had it at your house?
I don't know. I guess somebody got it from my garage or my shed.
Who would have got it?
There's a couple of people. I don't know.
All right.
Exactly who.
Okay.
Detective Hayes hesitates, but informs Boynton that he is aware his story is false. He inquires once more if Boynton has seen the bag in his new house. The following lie is awkwardly presented as Boynton suggests that someone else must have placed the bag there, a claim so commonly heard by the police that they almost instinctively believe it to be a lie.
And inside that bag, there were numerous contents inside of it. And one of those is this right here. You know what this is?
It's like Jessica's old retainer thing that she had them wear together.
Right. bag was completely filled with female clothes. And this is one photo of it. That's not yours.
No.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's not yours.
No, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Who did that belong to?
This guy, Jessica's name wants to be Jessica's retaining thing.
If it was in this right here, where would that have been at?
I had all our stuff in it in mine.
What would it have been at?
It would have been in the garage thing I could have stood in,
Which is where?
which is at my house.
Which is at your house.
Yes, sir.
Did you buy that for Jessica?
I don't recall. I don't think I did.
Because she
I
had
think her grandparents did.
because she had retainers before she met you, right? Before y'all got married, right?
I believe so.
So that would make it whose property?
Hers.
Not yours, right?
Right. Yes, sir.
Whose bag is that?
Jessica's.
And the contents in the bag?
And it's got all her stuff in it.
So why would you not have brought that to us when you saw the bag at moving?
Sarge, I promise I've not been through that bag. The last time I used that
Matthew,
bag was for the
I
gym.
didn't ask you that, Matthew. Listen to me, buddy. Whose bag is this?
I understand what you're saying. It's Jessica's. I should have brought it over here.
Detective Hayes points out that the bag couldn't contain Jessica's clothing if Boynton used it as a gym bag. Boynton acts like a slippery eel, trying to avoid taking responsibility, evident in his body language. With the corruption and nepotism discovered in the department, this could negatively impact his career. And he knows it, and later start removing his uniform. Hayes angrily demands why Boynton would lie about a simple bag. Boynton attempts to explain it as a misunderstanding, but his girlfriend later reveals in an interview that she had pointed out the bag multiple times, and he made a joke about the shooting using the bag.
If I would have thought about it then, I would have said something.
But you knew you had the bag. Did you not know you had the bag?
I'm sorry. My mind's right. I fucked up. I know I didn't. I should have turned it in. But not only because I'm a cop, because I should have, because it was Jessica. Even if she let me use it.
It was the right thing to do, man.
I'm clear. Yes, sir. If I would have thought about it then, I wouldn't have messed up and been in this position because of my kids.
But why didn't you turn the bag in when you damn moved?
I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know what I was thinking then.
Did you think you was going to get in trouble if you turned it in late?
I guess. I don't know what I was going through in my mind.
What do you think should happen now?
Boynton is in tears after removing all his gears. He confesses to being afraid, worrying that this discovery would come to light, and he whimpers about the impact it will have on his boys. Hayes informs him that if Boynton had come forward voluntarily, things could have been handled differently, but now he is cornered.
I would have thought about it. I would have done it.
Of all the stuff that you see about you, you know if you were in possession of something that belonged to her, you know you could have brought it to me. You know I'm going to do the right thing, you know I have to do the right thing. I would have took care of it. I would have gotten the bag back to her. But when you knew you had the bag and you didn't do anything about it, man, you put me in a situation where I don't have any other choice.
I'm clear. I'm clear. There's no excuse for it. Here. I know it's got that on here. It's so hard, like, okay. I love working here.
I know you do.
And I asked you, I was so scared to come to work every day.
Why?
Because every time I did, it was always 1179 or 1022 to 42 come up here. I mean, it's always something. I don't know, maybe I thought if I brought it up here, I was going to get fired and whatever. I mean, I don't know. I'm so young and stupid.
But Matthew, you know doing the right thing regardless, it doesn't matter. If you do the right thing, you can live with yourself.
9 times out of 10, I do. I mean, that's the way I was raised.
But you know that. You know that you have to do the right thing. And when you found, even if you found the bag, you should have said, hey LT, hey SAR, hey whoever, I got something, man. Stop for a minute and talk to me.
I don't know what I was thinking then. I don't know if it's because I was scared. I mean, I told you, I come to work every day scared. Now, there's no excuse. I'm not trying to make one for myself. The baby is actually took me like his own. And I'm not setting a good example right now.
Left to himself, Boynton switches between fiddling with his gear and using his cell phone, a privilege not granted to others in custody. It's evident he's aware that he'll have to resign. It's disheartening that he escaped conviction for attempted murder while Jessica will only find solace in receiving a small sense of justice for a relatively minor offense. After recovering, Jessica lost custody of her sons. All evidence supporting her as a victim of attempted murder was ignored or kept from consideration, leading to an almost certain outcome due to the close ties between the sheriff and the judge.
There's a notation in the dispatch records to call Sheriff Beam before calling the GBI. Why would Sheriff Beam be involved?
Well, I didn't know it till that night, but Sheriff Beam is Matthew Boynton's grandfather.
Boynton falsely claimed he feared Jessica would harm the children and herself, despite a complete psychological evaluation refuting this. Consequently, she was only allowed to see her sons for 4 hours per week under the supervision of an armed police officer. In the aftermath of the video, Boynton faced charges for making false statements and violating his oath of office, both felonies. Shockingly, he escaped indictment and just 4 months later was hired as a reserve officer in another city. During the summer of 2018, their oldest son spoke out about his father's actions, prompting Jessica to report the situation to child services. After nearly a year of investigation and the involvement of child psychologists, it was recommended that the boys have no further contact with their father. As we reflect on this troubling and heart-wrenching tale, it's enraging to witness the potential consequences of corruption and influence on critical matters. If you want to watch more police camp stories, subscribe and turn on notifications for more. Watch and enjoy the next video.